If more of you supported the show, I'd be less sick of podcasts.
Blah, 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 blah.
Sending out good vibes.
Blah, blah, blah.
Good vibes.
Blah,
Good vibes.
blah, blah.
Good vibes. Good vibes.
108 breaths of deep gratitude and prayers for guidance and protection. And put on a didgeridoo and shamanic drumming track. Shivers or vibrations and stuff like that.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimerica Show. Coming at you this week with Bernard Beitman. So it's a good one, it's a fun one. It's a synchronicity show. So, hopefully we can use this as a getting more synchronicity. Because I think it's been a while since someone, I can't touch the table because of my ghetto mic.
Oh, yeah, I know. We need to raise money for mic stands. Both of our mic stands are messed up. Now we got to find, I just hate paying money for like a mic stand. It's like, why is that $300 or whatever? But literally, I bet you the one that's going to really help is probably $200 or $300.
Yeah, these ones aren't working. I mean, my tuna can fell out of the handle, and then
we got it, Jimmy. We've got bungee cords and weights and Jimmy cords. It's just
plate on there that slipped off, and then it really goes to shit. So if people are the Lazy Ramblings, of course, there's always a timestamp in the show notes, but you should support the show, grimerica.ca/support before you skip ahead time. But there is always a timestamp, so you can skip this section of the show. But yeah, the mic stand struggle is real. I mean, it's been going on for a decade now.
On these threads, the threads don't hold. Like you told me, oh yeah, the threads will. I'm like, why? I'll just rethread it, and then I did it up, and then it's not like I'm spinning the whole thing around. I'm just going back and forth in the same arc, right? It shouldn't actually unthread, but somehow eventually it pops out of the threads.
Then the threads will be fucked.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They already don't hold. I mean, I'm thinking about like, can I rethread it? Like, that's a pain. But I mean, I probably can find a tool and die set in the garage and see if I can maybe
drill it out and put like a 1/2-inch bolt in there and just have a ratchet. Crank that shit.
Before I forget though, I think Bernard was pretty happy to hear, because we haven't had him on yet after 12 years, and pretty happy to hear that we were doing our own synchronicity ratings and all that, and actually playing around with synchros for years and years and years,
Dude's like a synchro professor, I guess.
Professor, right? And we haven't even had him on, and we rate, or you rate synchros. I think he was pretty
I haven't rated any in a while. I mean, that's what we're talking about. Some people were complaining about that we weren't playing enough jingles anymore. So
yeah, well, that's just the way it goes. Things evolve.
Yeah, and you got to send more emails. I mean, we used to get tons of feedback all the time, which preludes jingles.
Remember some of the synchros we got? I mean, it's just the world's changing. People just they're not sending the stuff in anymore. I mean, I've got little synchros happening. I mean, I had that one I was telling you about. I was reading that book, Orthodoxy, because I've been hearing this Chesterton's name, and I'm loving the book. And then I've been putting these compilations of these fairy books together from Lang's fairy books. Like he's like made all like hundreds of fairy tales. Like all the popular fairy tales seem to be from this Lang guy. And but I didn't really. I mean, Grimm, right? Grimm, Brothers Grimm, and Lang.
Yeah. Brothers.
And then I was reading a chapter. I'm gonna find out what the chapter's called. It was something in Elfland. And it was a surprising. I was like, why is this chapter called that? The Ethics of Elfland. And I was like, what is he talking about? And it mentioned.
This sounds white supremacist.
What?
Is this eugenics or the
Ethics of Elfland?
Yeah, I want to hear some of the ethics.
The ethics.
You have them handy?
I probably do. Yeah. I mean,
remember when you used to do the UFO quote of the week?
I know.
Imagine you were still trying to pull that out 750 50.
We went through them all. I mean, I went through all the quotes. I had like 50 pages of UFO quotes. I mean, that just shows you how far ahead we are on a lot of stuff. I mean, some stuff is coming around now, and it's like we're talking about it in 2015 or 2016. So here we go. But for the moment, it is possible in the sane, solely practical manner to give a general answer touching what in actual human history keeps men sane. Mysticism keeps men sane. As long as you have mystery, you have health. When you destroy mystery, you create morbidity. The ordinary man has always been sane because the ordinary man has always been a mystic. He has permitted the twilight. He has always had one foot in earth and the other in fairyland. He has always left himself free to doubt his gods, but unlike the agnostic of today, free also to believe in them. He has also cared more for truth than consistency. If he saw two truths that seemed to contradict each other, he would take the two truths and the contradiction along with them. Pretty cool, eh?
That's not bad. Yes. That's pretty good. Well, if I was going to introduce you, as grab the Masonic shield Dunlop.
Oh no. And here's another quote. Akin to these is the false theory of progress, which maintains that we alter the test instead of trying to pass the test. I mean, is that not happening today? Right?
What's the test? What the test?
Whatever the test is. Forget passing it.
I've been
Just
reading
alter
these
it.
like Hopi myths all day that are talking about, because now I'm starting to put some bunch of stuff together because I have to do a presentation. I've now committed to doing a presentation, which I think we'll probably end up doing together or figuring something out. So I'm starting to collect all this stuff, see if I can put something, new together. But it was talk about how you can't start. And then I was listening to, you know who it was actually. Okay, we got to go to the segment. Can we go to the segment?
Sure.
Doesn't work like that, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of like in and out.
Well, I wanted to just I'll hook it up to the road. I will when someone emails. When we get an email, a synchronicity, a sighting, just a something, send us something, and I will play a jingle. But for now, let me go to, because I was going to introduce you as the Masonic Shield Dunlop, because the YouTube channel was blowing up a little bit lately, so I was getting a bunch of comments.
Whose YouTube channel?
Our YouTube channel, the Grimerica channel. We got over 15,000 subs finally, and then we shot up to like 15.5 in a couple of days, which doesn't really matter. It doesn't make a difference, honestly, because we're not monetized or anything like that, but it does open up to getting more comments.
That's probably the one place we got.
And then this comment said, all three of you are Freemason shills who were given the wrong data. That's
on what?
On the Ben Davidson episode.
Oh, I like it.
Oh, yeah. So you know what the other thing was in that Hopi myth? They were talking about the sky turning into a grid.
Wow.
Which made me think of the Robert Schoch stuff. You know?
Oh no, or today, the grid that's happening today, the Wi-Fi grid.
So they were explaining it as it could be. No, they said there was lines. It'll be full of lines. And actually in the thing I was reading, they were talking about what could be the telegraph lines or the telephone. And I'm like, man, those could be the lines that they were talking about when the sun freaks out. So then that same person that called us Masonic shills who were given the wrong data, from the Masons, I guess, says, okay, so he says, this is a long one. This is from Random Access 78 on YouTube. So he sounds really credentialed. Sounds really, I mean, he's not even using his real name, right? Anyway, hello, the Freemason Ben. I urge you to follow the work of Brian Austin Lambert, RIP, and the MCO, who summarized all this information with the 100% correct model and not the Masonic NASA heliocentric model, which has me my like flat earth fucking radar going off a little bit right off the bat. But I mean, not heliocentric could also be Tychos, which doesn't seem so crazy. So we'll see. Around 2018, with over 25 hours of very important and scientific, well understood information, Just write ball 13 in BitChute and look for the in BitChute. What the fuck is BitChute?
What do you mean? What's BitChute? It's
That's
that platform that we used to.
Because I'll get to that after. But and by the way, the frequency of these events is much more frequent, which kind of lines up with some RKX stuff, right?
Yes, it does.
Like
Yeah.
150 to 500 years. Last small one in 1902, and a bigger run around 1760.
Yeah, that's his dates. That's the 1902 is RKX's date.
By the way, the electromagnetic plasma changer event lasts few hours, not days or months, and the dome electromagnetic field is back on.
Can I call him out on something then? So if it's 1902, because RKX talks about how 1902 was kind of skipped over, or something happened and it was supposed to happen, but it didn't.
Yeah.
And there was a year like 1902 was taken out of the fucking encyclopedia, which is weird. Or not the encyclopedia, but some reference book that he was looking at. 1902 was just not there.
When were the orphan trains?
Early 1900s, like 1910, 20 maybe.
Around 1902.
I'll check. You keep going.
Keep going with what?
Oh, I thought you were in the middle of reading.
Well,
I interrupted the note. I mean, he was still going on. Like,
no, that was the end of it. I read the whole thing. But I did have something to add on to that. Oh yeah, so then I went and found this. So I ended up on Odyssey, funny enough, and I ended up on part 33.
You're making the bit shooting Odyssey rounds,
which was 2 hours or something like that. I'm not all the way through it, but he was talking about how the cities are a problem because I mean the interesting thing is they're talking about the same stuff. They're saying that there is the plasma event and blah 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 blah. And if you're in the cities, then the cities attract the plasma, the concrete and the buildings and all the steel and all that kind of stuff attracts the plasma to come down. And if there's none of those, then it hits the ice sheets. And I think that's like the best case scenario. Either way, you're fucked, really.
What
but anyway,
ice sheets because of the water, or is it because of
they
the
conduct
density?
electricity.
What?
I wonder if ice conducts electricity better than water. Ask the assistant that. I will say this: I got a 5-star review on my book on Audible today, so some people could get that if you have some Audible credits and leave a review. I'm trying to just push this one over the top, so we could maybe ask you guys for less support if we could sell some books. It is a good book, and the review actually was a 5-star review that said that he wanted to give the book to his kids. He was going to get the book for his kids, which is kind of in that young adult range is who it's for. If you know someone who's late teenager or in their 20s, probably fit them good. And grab it on Amazon or whatever. Leave a review. See if we can push this thing over the top. And the Carney book was doing well too, which is weird. People are finally starting to notice he's a slime bag. So check that stuff out. Unlearned. If you just search Unlearned in my name, and
There's a link in the show notes too.
oh, there you go. There's a link in the show notes. There you have it.
So the bottom line, liquid water with dissolved ions conducts electricity better than ice. Ice is generally an insulator, except under special conditions like impurities or surface films of liquid water.
Ask it if there's any reason to think that a plasma burst would choose ice over water. See what it has to say about that.
Burst. I think it had to do with the density or the something about the inner conductivity of what's inside the earth. I seem to remember.
Yeah. I think that's what this guy was saying too, with where there was like iron ore deposits and stuff like that.
Oh man, this is just this. I'm not liking these.
ChatGPT 5.
Yeah, it's just too no. I'm just asking for an answer here, not Well, it does say bottom line is a plasma burst might choose ice over water because ice is insulating nature and structural weakness under extreme heat and to sudden breakdown, crack formation, and focused conduction paths. Whereas in water, the energy disperses more broadly. The result, ice produces a more dramatic channelized plasma response.
Interesting. I don't really know what that means, but it sounds cool. Sounds pretty cool. So the elk trashed my cam again, unfortunately. Back out at the Broken Hip camp place, which is ironically started to ruin me because it was the last time I was out hunting there that my back started to bother me, and then inevitably it just ended up going out. I mean, I think the last time I went out, I did like 80 stories and like 15 or 16 kilometers. And dude, we crept right up on a bear. We thought it was an elk. We're creeping right up on it. And I'm like, hey, Miles, there's an elk. And he's like, creeps up. He's looking. And he's like, that's a fucking bear, bro. I'm like, nah. So I look at the bino. Sure enough, it's a big grizzly bear just pulling down berry branches and like, because we went over there because we heard a branch break. So, you think a big animal stepped on a branch. But then we got over there, crept up on it, got probably 40 yards away from a big old grizzly bear. Luckily, the wind was coming in our way, so he didn't smell us. He was just eating his berries. I mean, we would have laid that motherfucker out. He'd be a rug if he would have come after us, but I'd still rather not get charged by a bear. But anyway, so we just backed.
Did you get the elk though, or didn't you get revenge on the elk?
Not there. So this is a different spot. So we had gone to the Broken Hip spot, which is out in the foothills now, and the first time we went, I ended up soaking wet, wandering around, and then the last time we went, we've run into bears every time though. Grizzly bears a couple times, and black bears a couple times with cubs, which ain't a big deal, really. But it's kind of nice to go out in the middle because it gets kind of weird then when it's like the animal, you shoot something out there, big animals, could take you a couple hours to break this thing down, and usually for those couple hours, it's pitch fucking black, and then you got the decision to make. How far can you bring the truck in? Can you get the truck there? So you're probably carrying the meat through the woods proper for a while. So sometimes it's nice just to do that with a couple more people. I got the boys coming out in a while, and the extractions out there are a bit of a bitch. So you've done it.
Oh yeah, dude.
Through the woods and down that hill and up the hill. So if it's just me and Miles, you're doing that probably 3 times. And you got to bring the gun every time because you need a gun just in case the bear shows up. You need something to fend it off with because they'll fuck you up. There's a lot of bears this year, shitload. I'm not scared of the bears. I just don't want to have to shoot one. And I don't want to get fucking mauled walking through the bush with a big chunk of meat on my back either.
Well, if you do shoot one, can I have some bear grease?
Some bear towel? That could be interesting. So anyway, now my back is fucked. So I went through it. I think I've walked like 70 kilometers or something.
Might be because you're out of shape because you're doing just your desk job now.
Yeah, I used to walk a lot. Just in my day-to-day, I used to get 10,000 or 12,000 steps a day. And that's probably way down now, probably to 4 or 5. I do still get a little bit running around here doing this and that, but nothing compared to what I was used to. So I went into hunting season a little greener than usual, and just I just go at it because the first time out was fucking brutal. It was like a proper death march, but without any meat. So I was like, oh God, I'm glad we didn't shoot nothing because by the end of it, I was just fucking bagged, and there's a huge muddy hill that you got to finish off with. And then the next time out, I looked and we were at 15K already. It's probably like 10 miles. And I was like, that ain't so bad. I could do. We went back to the truck and had a bite to eat, and I was like, I could do another 10, no problem. I think we did another 6 or something like that.
What are you using for boots? Boots for those long.
Well, the last time I used my rubber boots for the first. So because the first time we went out, I used my good Loas.
That'll mess your back up right there.
Oh yeah, so I used the good Loas, but the Gore-Tex is good until it's waterproof until it's not, and then when it's not, you're wearing fucking sponges on your feet. And even when it's like not raining out there, it's still the grass is fucked. The grass that I drive through on the way out there is up past the mirrors on my truck. So it's literally like if you were walking through there, you wouldn't be able to see where you're going. It'd just be grass. You'd be walking through grass taller than you. And then even when you get into the forest, it's all like, unless you're on a game trail, dude, it's all like up past your knees. It's up in your waist, and it's all fucking soaking wet all the time. It seems like from dew or from whatever. So
Well, it's been a wet season, I think, and so everything's growing taller, and it's also raining a lot. It really is. I mean, it hasn't browned like our area, like even my lawn hasn't browned.
so you have to choose between wet boots or wet feet or dry feet and rubber boots, and the rubber boots are fucking brutal on the back. And then I've got the splash pants on too. They don't breathe real great, so because otherwise your pants just get soaked right away. So I was just kind of fucking. I was like, I could do 10 more K, but then after that, because we went out. That was probably Thursday. We went out Thursday morning, and then we went out again Saturday early morning, and even like on the way out Saturday, my back was a little iffy, but I was like, wasn't bad, and it was that kind of iffy that I figured if I just went out and started walking, usually that sort of solves my problem. But we went down to the river edge there, and it was like the terrain is just so thick and so uneven that it's just been sort of caught up with me. And going from 0 to doing like
Oh yeah, you can't do it. You need some time.
40 kilometers in 2 days is it was just catching up with me. So then by like Saturday, my back was already killing me. And then it's like my back was killing me. And then we're driving out and the road's so bumpy. You know, it's like crazy bumpy. Like boom, boom, boom. And it's just jolting the back all over the place. But then we see come up on because Miles is still good to go. So we're still driving around. Then we come up on a herd of elk. And it was like, snap, pain's gone. You know, I'm good to go. They drove away. I'm out of the truck, running up. They took off back to the truck, and I'm like, okay, we gotta like. So by this point, I'd already lost my phone too, which I forgot.
Oh, you had already lost it. I thought this was gonna be the spot where you lost
Where
it.
my back was starting to get fucked up. We were down there, and because the other thing that there's lots of this year is mosquitoes. There's
Really?
an insane amount of mosquitoes out in the fields. The mosquitoes were as bad down on that river delta as I've seen them in my life, probably. Pretty like. So anyway, we seen a moose down there. So I'm running from point A to point B, and I notice I lose my phone. I'm like, okay, well, I know kind of where it is. I'll come back after we see if we can find this moose.
How did you know you lost it there? Like
I got lucky because I didn't know for sure, but when I went running, my binoculars bounced out of my harness. And my phone's in a little pocket beside the binoculars and then the rangefinder on the other side. And I noticed that was open and the phone was gone. But I had taken off my harness twice, once to take my little jacket thing off because I was too hot, and then once later to put it back on because the bugs were too bad. So I decided that, and they'll just eat right through your shirt. So I was like, okay, I need another fucking layer here because the bugs are just, the heat's a lesser enemy right now. So I was like, well, the phone could be there. It could be there. And I'd already because we checked the spot and couldn't find it. Walked back to 2 other spots, couldn't find it. And then I probably would have given up. But then when I got home and looked on the computer, like it was here on satellite was the last place it was before it died. And it was kind of like right on that same trail where I thought it was. So I was like, oh, I'll go out and try and find it. That was the next day though. And I did eventually find it. It was like 6 feet off the trail. It must have been like really went flying off. And Miles and I hadn't checked that far over. But anyway, we kept hunting anyway, seen these elk chased and they ran off. So we get back in the truck, but it's kind of like, it's a good spot. We got some good spots. And the good thing about like when you're out in the foothills, man, when they take off, they're fucking gone. You ain't going to see them again. But when you're out in the plains and you're in some spot where there's a bunch of water and there's a bunch of trees and there's all that kind of stuff. And then outside of that, it's just fucking bald ass prairie. You know, it's native prairie, the antelope, like that kind of shit. Nothing else wants to be out there. So you kind of almost get them pinned into a few square miles. And, yeah, we were lucky enough to creep around the other side, seen them. And we were able to come through some woods and along a swamp edge, dude. And then we were on the woods and we could see like 4 of these elk, like probably 40 yards away, like staring at us in the heavy woods. And then we just waited for them to creep out. And when the one creeped out, I offered Miles a shot first. It was kind of a weird shot because it was there was a little swamp in the way and the reeds were super high. So you could see the elk's head and you could see like the top 8 inches of its back. And Miles like, I'm not comfortable taking the shot unless I can see what I'm shooting at. And I was like, well, I'm pretty sure I can make the shot. And he was like, well, fucking take it down then. That's what we're here for. Cause I just, I've shot so much shit by this point that I just
you want to try to give
I
him
can see its back and its head. I can tell, I know where its heart and lungs are. We're talking about a fucking pie plate. I got to hit a pie plate basically. So yeah, I blasted it and it jumped up and took off. And I took off. And Miles went around to see if he could head off because there was about 15 of them. And he was like, well, maybe if I crash through the woods here and the rest are running away, I might get a shot at another one yet. Thank God he didn't. But so then I ran up and I see 2 elk running away. And because I thought that motherfucker went down right there. He like reared up and stumbled and went down. And then, but the grass was super tall. So then you sort of lose him. And then I went around there and I see some blood and there's these 2 other bull elk like running across the field. So I run out after them. I'm chasing them. Miles gets the truck. We drive over to this other bush they went to, drive around there. Like, fuck, we got to go back and we'll just follow the blood. We got to follow the blood, old school, and figure out where it went because it's not going to last long. And I was already like, man, how the fuck did that thing just run 500 yards? I mean, it could barely walk just a second ago. Then we were walking back and by now my back is like fucking throbbing. So it's like hard to walk and the terrain is like super up and down, it's like, so every step which is no big deal when you're fine, but it's like my lower back stabilizer muscles. So like, it doesn't like going from lying down to standing up or from sitting down to standing up. And it don't like walking on uneven terrain. You're constantly missing the step and jolting. And anyway, we were walking back to follow the blood trail, and fucking there it was right there. I'd ran right past it.
Oh.
So then, yeah, we ran about 25 feet through some bushes and went down. Then my back was fucking mangled, dude. I had to take a break, lie down on the truck before, getting to business. I still had a couple hours of work to do. So it took us, I want to say it took us about 80 minutes to break that thing down. So I had
80 minutes to break it down, and then you had to get it out.
Well, luckily, we were able to back the truck right up to it. So,
that's good.
And then Miles, I did a lot of the knife work, and Miles did a lot of the heavy lifting. So my back was pretty good. If I get in a position and lock in, I could sort of swing a knife or move a knife or stuff like that. So then I came home. We put the elk in the fridge, in my meat fridge. It's in there for a few days till I carve it up. But then I had to go. I didn't have my phone. So I ordered a new phone because luckily because now I'm like a small business. I've got like a shitload of phones because I've got this family. So now my kids have phones. The wife has a phone. I got a phone. So I just went on to Bell, and sure enough, one of the things was up that I'm eligible to just get a new phone. So I ordered that just in case because it's a real. I couldn't get into banking or nothing because everything's like, we sent you this code, and I'm like, fuck, I can't get the code. Everything you need the phone for. It was unbelievable. And I could shut off the 2FA, but we kind of need it. It's like I don't mind having 2FA on my bank because I don't want someone getting into my bank, or I don't want someone getting into the PayPal. But it's real inconvenient. So it's like, well, I better just order one because the post is on strike or whatever's going on. It's going to take a little while to get here at best. And then I bought a metal detector and went back out there. The metal detector was a total piece of shit. Well, my back was fucked for all this. So I had to I'm driving out back down those dirt roads, me and Shauna back down the fucking hill, walk another fucking 500 yards to where it is and look with the metal detector, can't find it. And then I'm just like pissed off. So I just started like crazy bushwhacking, fucking thrashing bushes all over, and eventually found it.
I can't believe it. You found it through bushwhacking.
Then by the time I drove home, dude, I could barely get out of the truck. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But I'm bouncing back. I'm
That's good, yeah.
Mostly back now, I would say. It was just too much. I got to start doing more sit-ups and stuff. Got to start working out again.
Yeah.
Need at least enough workout to do the things that I want to do. So, I mean, a lot of stretching too. I've been doing a lot of stretching today and kind of working and lie on the floor, stretch it out a bit. So getting some mobility back. I'll be ready to go in a couple days. I got a whole elk to carve up yet. So a bit of work to do there. And then, of course, we got the hunting cat coming up. People want to check that out. September 24th, that starts like 9 days. Check that out. It's only like $3,000. It's a real good deal. I mean, I can't believe more people aren't coming. Check it out if you're interested in it. It's something to do, and it's going to be fun. And if you're coming to Ranch Cack, let us know about that as well. That's going to be fun. Our little local event here for the locals. And support the show, grimerica.ca/support. We do really need some more supporters out there. It'd be super helpful. We appreciate all our lords, and we love you. As I think Paul's officially a lord now. I seen him say in the chats the other day he was doing his accounting, and his annual subscription just came out. So now he says he's a lord. So send us in your title. Let us know. Of course, that's if you send us $1,000 or more, you become a lord of Grimerica or a lady. And if you send 10 grand, you become a deity. We do have a few of those, and we love them. Become a supporter at any level, you become a noble. And we have Jen Sorensen looking to become maybe our first lady down the road. She came through with $100 US one-time donation, which we appreciate.
Oh, thanks, Jen.
Oh, I just got a notification for my cam. Should I check it?
Amazing for your cat. Yeah, sure. I mean, are you not hiding these cams good enough? Like, how are they getting knocked over by the wildlife? I mean, I can't believe there's so much wildlife that your cams aren't lasting.
Well, the one is on a oh, it's a bull moose and another moose. What is that up in the fucking corner? I think
we need a Sasquatch cam.
Yeah, it's another moose. 2 moose. So the one that's down at the watering hole is kind of just out there. It's like because the watering hole doesn't have any trees real close to it, and the cams are only effective for so long. So we just went and pounded, but it's kind of like hidden in the ridge. But I mean, there's this little green light that comes on, and they say the animals can't see it. I'm calling bullshit at this point. There's fucking something going on in that camera that these animals are clearly seeing because they're looking at it. I mean, the one I've got videos on here of an elk like rubbing his antlers. So I mean, I'm blaming Miles partly for that one because he's like, we had the camera all set up and there's this log there, and he's like, I'm gonna put the log in front of it, and there's like it'll put like a barrier sort of before the camera. So, and sure as shit, the elk went and starts rubbing his antlers on the fucking log that the camera's in front of, and then this other antler's hitting the camera, and then the camera gets spun around and is pointed in the mud right now. Again, my camera's fucked. There's some great footage on it. I mean, there's more elk out there, but I'll be good for a little bit now. I got to get this elk sort of packaged up and dealt with, but I'm about out of meat, so it's good timing.
Well, maybe you should just mention with your hunting trip, like you're going to take a group of guys out and you're going to do all kinds of hunting, right? It's not just like, so you're going to have like, what is it? The duck hunts. You're going to have I don't know the names of them, but there's the 2 types of like the duck hunting, and then you're going to go off looking for big game, right?
That's right. Yeah. Ducks and geese and big game.
But the ducks and geese, like one of them is going to, one day you're going to do like, what's the difference? You do water and then reeds or something like that, or what?
We do some water and then some fields as well.
Fields.
We'll do some field hunting. It's going to be a real blast. And we'll be doing a lot of camping. A lot of like staying out at the lake, because otherwise you end up doing so much driving. It's annoying. And the driving comes at the expense of sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
We're still out there for the same time. So it's like, okay, well, we got to be there at this time. It takes 2 hours to get there. Or there's a campsite across the lake. It takes 5 minutes. You get out, we can even have a quick bite to eat and make coffee.
Yeah, that's great. And
have some time to hang out, because it does get dark a little early, 5, 6 o'clock, but then you just have a fire, hang out. I mean, you're bagged, right? You know how it is when we did that elk hunt at the base. We had like all those cots and all of us crammed into one room, and you think it's going to be uncomfortable, but literally all you're doing is going there and fucking falling down dead.
Yep.
Maybe eating a bit of meat quick, or cooking some dinner quick, and then you're fucking done. See you in the morning when that fucking alarm clock starts going off.
Exactly.
So yeah, 5-point elk though. It was the biggest one I shot. Probably it was a big 5-point. I was pretty impressed because I've shot a 6x6, maybe a 5x6, and it was smaller than this one. This one was a 5x5. It was a very well built animal. My cam's got a 6x6 on it still, so I got my eye on that one because this one I got split with Miles and his wife. So I mean, it goes quick, you know. We get 30 steaks out of it, but when you got 7-8 people eating off it,
Yeah.
it goes real fast. And eating it all the time, not just as a novelty. So I still need another big animal, and then the rest supplement with small stuff. Then ducks, baby. Fucking 3 weeks till duck season. That really is the funnest one. You never realize it until you're back into it, but then once you're in it, because you just get to keep going. It's not like you're just like, yeah, we shot a duck. Now get back in the fucking blind, and we're gonna get some more ducks over here.
Yeah, totally. It's
Like
not
a good day.
You don't spend days hunting one animal and then you miss your chance. If you miss them, that's it.
Some of these fucking snow goose guys are shooting 350 birds in a day.
Wow, that's
You
crazy.
know, you get 8 guys out there, and they'll shoot 300 birds. You get 50 each.
Wow.
Then you gotta clean them though. So there is that. So anyway, what else you got? Is that it?
That's it. Let's get out of here. I'm exhausted.
Support the show so we can be less exhausted and bring you even more great content. I mean, I was thinking about buying some like glasses or something, start filming the hunt. So they got hats or glasses you could just wear now and throw a pair on me, a pair on Miles, and see what we get out of everything. Because we will get some pretty cool content.
I did get an email from somebody saying that you can buy. It was at what's the place that you go to? The big place,
Bass Pro.
Bass Pro.
The gun. Yeah, I was looking at a shotgun.
There's a camera for your gun or your bow. You can put a camera on that.
Yeah, I was looking at those. They all cost money, you know. It's like and it's not really monetizable, but it would be cool to start filming some of this stuff because you can't have a camera. It's just a bit too much. And even the camera would be sort of charging behind you trying to keep up. Whereas like the best thing would be me as I'm coming through the bush and there I'm looking at the animals and there they are. And it's a good enough camera that you can then zoom in on it to get a good view of them as well.
Yeah.
You know, need support for that.
Yeah, totally.
So I was looking at a kit on thing but somebody was selling a crazy set of night vision fucking helmet for 10 grand on Kijiji.
Oh my!
Made me think of you right away. I don't know why, but that's kind of nerdy, like apocalypse stuff I expect you to have. Anyway, support the show, share the show, email the show, and we'll give you some jingles back, maybe. I mean, some of you might be like, thank God they got rid of those jingles, so maybe that's where you're at. We don't know. We don't hear from you as much as we used to. So email us again. Most of all, enjoy the chat with Bernard Beitman.
All right, we're here with Bernard Beitman. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
Great to be here with you guys. Great to be here.
Yeah, this will be fun. This, like I was mentioning, Synchronicities has been a major part of the show for 12 years, kind of a thread going in and out here and there, you know, but we've had lots of our favorite guests have had life-changing synchronicities where they've started a book or they've had these events that sort of change the trajectory of their life. So it's going to be fun talking to you about your latest book and all your work, Life-Changing Synchronicities, A Doctor's Journey of Coincidence and Serendipity.
That's the one.
That's the title. Right on. So yeah, how did you came up with, you were an academic and into sports. It doesn't seem like the regular pathway to studying coincidence and synchronicities.
It's not.
What happened?
It's not. I had this thing called curiosity uh, and wonder, and trying to recognize that they were telling me in school was not the whole story of what reality was. So I became interested in figuring it out. What's the nature of reality? I mean, a lot of people asking that. I directly pursued it, and it turns out that synchronicities, meaningful coincidences, have been happening throughout my life. And some of the fun places that they have happened is playing football and being a part-time hippie on Haight Street in the late 60s.
Wow. Well, how does the synchronicity happen playing football?
I would imagine running the opening kickoff back for a touchdown.
Oh, okay.
In baseball, I would imagine hitting the first pitch for a home run. In baseball, I was fast, but I didn't hit home runs. So in a playoff game, in American Legion, I was batting first at the bottom of the first inning, and first pitch right over the center fielder's head. My brother said I was rounding second base before the ball came down. I don't do that. I didn't do that very often.
But some people would say that's visualization and not necessarily synchronicities. I mean, I have a that reminded me of one that I had when I was a kid playing hockey. There was 11 seconds left on the clock, and we were in our end, and I was like visualizing, like, I'm gonna get this, got enough time to go down and score. But the memory is like hazy. Like in my memory, I remember that I think I did it, but I can't remember the exact thing. So it's but yeah, I had some of those instances too, but I would almost think those were more like visualizations or something.
Well, visualizations are a subset of meaningful coincidences, because what we mean by meaningful coincidence is a connection between what's in your mind and what happens in your environment. So visualizations are one form of that. It's like having a dream and seeing what your dream comes true, that you're able to predict things. So precognition is part of this also. It could be called precognition.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of names for it, but it's, to me, the amazement is you can think something and there it happens. That's what we're talking about. And when that happens, it's more than just you're thinking about it. You have to be doing something with it. So I played a lot of baseball. I won the batting title in high school by bunting a lot because I could run. And in football, I was quick. And the synchronicities on the football field, catching the ball at the opening kickoff of the second half and going 97 yards for a touchdown. I've got it on film. You can see it on my website. One of my friends snatched it away from the film guys. And there are a lot of nice coincidences on that run. And one of them is one of my guys blocking someone who was about to tackle me. The timing was really good. And then another one was I'm running along the sideline and I see these big guys wanting to catch me and knock me down. And I think, well, John Green did a punt return last week and he cut across the field. So that kind of slow motion thinking, when you're really into it, got me to take a left, and I missed those guys. And that's when I got the good block and went 97 for it.
Nice. So then you decided to start studying it formally, or I mean, how does that turn into a career about synchronicities?
I just love telling the story, of course. I mean, as we all do, fishing stories. The first one really was the one that got me. That when I was 8 or 9, and I came home from school on my bike, and there was my mother standing in the front door. And she doesn't usually do that. So I said, "Hey, Mom, where's Snapper?" Snapper was, I'll say, my dog, our family dog, but my dog. I said, "Hey, Mom, where's Snapper?" She says, "I don't know. Go to the police station. Maybe they know." To this day, I don't know how she came up with that one. So, being the good boy that I was, I got back my bike, went across the elementary school, crossed the big road next to the elementary school, never went across it before, by the light, and crossed, and then parked my bike at the bottom of the police station stairway, and then walked up the stairway and pushed open the big door, and then went inside, and there was a big desk and a big man behind the desk. And I say, "Have you seen my dog?" And he said, he saw how I felt. So he says, "Sorry, son, we haven't seen your dog." So I started crying. That dog was my best friend. That dog and I, we'd go into the garbage in the back of the garage, and I'd mix stuff up like vinegar and ketchup, and we'd both smell it. We just had a good time together. So he and I did things together, and there he wasn't. So instead of going back to the light that I crossed before, I was crying so much that I went to the right instead. And who do I see coming towards me? What do I see coming towards me? Is that Snapper? He's got Snapper's walk. He looks like Snapper. It was only about 10 yards away from me when I first saw him. And it was Snapper. And I stopped, and he jumped up on my leg. And if he had words, he would have said, "Bernie, what took you so long?" He took 4 turns to find me. I took 1 wrong turn to find him. And that coincidence deeply made me feel something's important going on here. With no words for it, just the deep love of a boy and his dog being able to be reunited by a coincidence.
Nice.
Thanks.
Lovely story. So, Darren, do you have any questions, or do you want to dive deep?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's got so now you're still a young kid. And then do these things sort of compound, or is that sort of the galvanizing moment that from there you sort of say, I mean, is your career even really based on synchronicity, or is that just sort of a branch off of your career?
It's a culmination, really. My career was going to fancy schools like Yale Medical School and Stanford for my residency, and then the University of Washington. And I was chairman of a psychiatry department at the University of Missouri, Columbia for 17 years. I studied chest pain and panic disorder, and studying chest pain and panic disorder had a whole series of meaningful coincidences. For example, I came there with a protocol to study chest pain and panic disorder, and it turned out that at that time, the front door to the psychiatry clinic open to the back door of the cardiology clinic right across the hall. So people could like sneak across the hallway. Oh, we're going to psychiatry. We don't want to do that. So they could just come across the hall from the back door of cardiology. And we got 100 patients that way, 100 patients who had normal coronary artery angiograms. And I published 40 papers on the subject, became chairman, and probably have more papers on the subject than anybody in the world because of a lot of coincidences like that.
What did they think about your interest in coincidences? Because that doesn't really fit with academic medical stuff. I mean,
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. So I didn't get to be able to formally study synchronicity. I had a lot of experiences that I've told you a few of. Until I was chairman of the psychiatry department, and I had money that I got from research, and I could hire some research assistants to ask a very simple question: how common are meaningful coincidences in regular people's lives? Because I knew they weren't just for me. There were other people having them as well. So that's where I started the first valid and reliable scale to measure coincidence sensitivity. And from that, I got a bunch of papers. And the response to that was, as you would guess, maybe ho hum, but three other people picked up what I'd written about the Weird Coincidence Survey, which is what it was called, and they used it in their own studies. So three psychiatrists picked up what I'd written, and so there were a bunch more papers. And after that, radio silence. Nobody was interested in psychiatry, very few.
What was the
Until
first paper?
the first paper, go ahead. I'm sorry. The first paper was about the frequency of the most common coincidences. What do you think is the most common coincidence? What are the most common coincidences people experience?
I bet you one is thinking about someone right before they call.
You know, every time I ask that question, each answer is just that. Just what Darren you just said.
Again, then, like looking for your car. No, that's the only one. I mean, that's got to be it.
You got it. It's one of the four most popular, but that is right up there as number one sometimes. I mean, it depends on how you measure it. And everybody who I ask, it's been about 15 people when I've been on these shows, come up with what Darren just said.
Yep. What are the other three?
I wonder, well, wait, before you answer that, I wonder now if you went and asked like a mainstream academic person. I don't know what kind of podcast you've been on, but I find that our show has kind of embraced this sort of thing. And if you went on, say, I don't know, in Canada, it'd be like the CBC or on Fox News or something like that down there, I don't think they'd guess it. You know, I think they'd have a harder time sort of guessing it because it is sort of, even that one slips into that. Even if it's not a synchronicity, there's some sort of metaphysical something going on there that just seems to scare the mainstream away.
Oh, it does. It does. However, you just happen to mention some mainstream media, and Fox News Radio is trying to start a new podcast series about stuff they haven't told us in school.
Wow.
And the first person, it's pretty easy. And so the first person they interviewed was me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I don't know whether it's actually going to go, but they got the book that we're talking about here, the Life-Changing Synchronicities, and they loved it. And they don't know. It's, it takes a long time to get stuff going in those major networks. But that was interesting.
Credentials have to help too, right? I mean, we're talking about here in Synchronicities all the time, but we're just some podcasters, and we've heard some of the like craziest stories that like just they floor you. I mean, we had a whole thing going here where we were rating people's synchronicities for years. So people would send in their synchronicities and we'd rate them. And we had a couple of 10s, and I was a pretty harsh critic. But, but you're coming at it with all this sort of background in mainstream. So they kind of have to take it with some seriousness because you're writing, I'm assuming, peer-reviewed papers.
It was kind of peer reviewed. We'll say that it was kind of peer reviewed. That I was the editor of 2 issues of Psychiatric Annals, so I was the peer reviewing the papers. But it looks like a peer review journal, and it's published as if it were. So I'll say that, and that was a series of coincidences that allowed that to happen, Darren. However, miracles of miracles, a miracle to say, I've just written an article that is very likely to be published in something called Psychiatric Times. And that article is titled When Symptoms Are Not Signs, Rethinking Synchronicity. Can you tell what that's about?
I'm assuming it's ignoring synchronicities and then you get sick.
People not only ignore them, they take it as a sign of psychosis.
Interesting.
They take it as a sign of psychosis. That happened to me when
far ahead. I want to go back and get those other three before we leave it behind. Those other three main,
Most common ones.
most common synchronicities.
Um, one of them is getting information right when you need it. Another one is meeting people who help further your career or your education. And I forget the fourth one.
Yeah, that makes sense. Those three at least. So what about this psychosis thing then?
Well, you guys are obviously crazy if you're getting into the synchronicity business from mainstream psychiatry's perspective. But I'm trying to be, and I'm crazy too. And what I was trying to say was when I was a first year resident at Stanford, a very, very nice resident colleague of mine called me into his office and said, Bernie, your interest in all these meaningful coincidences suggests that you're psychotic. You need help. Well, I became chairman of psychiatry. I guess not. And so part of my job is to try to convince psychiatrists with this article about when a symptom is not a sign, reconsider synchronicity, is to say that when people tell mental health professionals that they have like grade 10 Darren rated synchronicities, they're not necessarily crazy. They're tuned into something that is worth scientifically investigating. That's what I'm trying to be able to get just recently into psychiatric thinking.
Imagine how materialistic our society has to have gotten to the point where people think they're crazy because of that. Because I have to assume that from like 100 years ago and all of previous history before that, that these things were taken somewhat seriously. I mean, even your career path, I was thinking, man, if you would have been in there 50 years earlier, they would have given you a huge budget and put you in charge of some remote viewing thing or something like that, right? You were just like one generation behind when even the military industrial complex was very seriously investigating all of these things and looking at weaponizing
them. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm afraid of, Darren. That could happen here with synchronicity. We can talk about how that might happen, but the timing. I mean, ticka 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 taka. Good timing brought me to you. That's an old '50s song. And good timing is so important in all this. Carl Jung, who invented the term synchronicity, left it to quite later in his life to write the very seminal monograph called Synchronicity because he was afraid of being called crazy by his colleagues.
Wow. I didn't know that.
You got to wonder how much of that is happening just on like all different fronts. I mean, man, I can't, the name of, I mean, Trevor Lohman kind of is down that path, right, Graham? But we've talked to a few people that are like on that brink. Lohman's talking about it though, so he's not really an example, but we've talked to countless people over the years that couldn't even like, they had this stuff and they just like kept it inside until they retired or until something like that happened. So it's like how much good research is getting left on the table.
Lots of research, good research is getting left on the table. There's a woman psychologist in Israel who has done what I've done and better, having a better scale to measure synchronicities with and correlated with that, how well synchronicity experiences correlated with positive health and positive optimism. And the more synchronicities you had, the more optimistic you felt, the better you felt about your world and your body.
Wow, that's very interesting. And it made me think of when you were talking about your synchronicity, the life-changing synchronicities. Like if you think you have psychosis, that might not be life-changing, but if you accept it and believe in it, that it's meaningful, then it can change your life trajectory, right? I guess that's the main difference of an attitude towards these things.
The attitude makes all kinds of difference. And part of it, attitude, Graham, is just how well put together is the person psychologically. if you are kind of like scattered anyway, and you don't have your grounded mind, you can get caught up in all kinds of thinking, which can become overwhelming. Because I talked to a manic woman who just was seeing all these coincidences and was perplexed and couldn't put them together. She was in a manic phase and she couldn't hold it all together. If you need to be well grounded or grounded enough to be able to say, I know I'm not crazy and that this might be something important that is a message to me, very much like, and I think better than uh, dreams, which are also messages. I think dreams get distorted. These are real experiences that you can actually look at and take pictures of.
So that's what's important about these synchronicities is that they are messages. Like what is happening with our reality right now with these things? I mean, are these metaphysical messages? Like are they part of our higher selves? Is it a message from somewhere out there? What's going on?
What do you think, Darren?
Well, I think that it's my take on it is that it's little symbols that it's almost like a guide. I think that, for most of recorded history, it would have been talking to God. It would have been messages from God. It would have been messages from the universe, whatever that is. So what we've sort of learned around here is that it means you're doing something right and you should keep following whatever path that might be.
I think that's the most common use of synchronicities. I'm
I-
on the right path.
I was gonna guess Darren is gonna talk about being the simulation as sort of proof of a simulation type thing. I mean, I think
Well,
I do think so. I mean, if we're going to get into the weeds on it, I do think so. I don't know if it's a simulation exactly, but I think it's got something to do with future remembering. That's why it comes through as so meaningful, because I think that there's something extra there other than outside of just the coincidence. And I think that it's a future remembering of a potential future if you embrace it. And that's why you get the like emotion along with it.
and Darren, you listed several different options for understanding what they could be. And a reason I ask each of you is because people come to synchronicity with already formed views about reality. Their ontologies, that's the word for that, for worldview, are relatively fixed. They are, some of them are changeable, but we have to have some kind of map at what's going on out there. We got to have some kind of map for the territory. So I ask people, what's your fundamental map? And now Darren has said, I'm on the right path, and we might be in something like a simulation. And maybe this is the future remembered now, a kind of deja vu. Okay. And Graham, what's your favorite, or what are your favorites?
Well, I mean, I like that they're on the same that we're on the right path too. I mean, because we used to talk about them so much, but they happen less for me now. So now I don't know if that means that so I'm pretty undecided about all of it. I mean, I just don't know if that means that I have found the right path now, or like when do they continue coming and all the time? I mean, but I see cycles of them happen, like little ones that happen in quick succession, but then there's huge gaps between them now. So I don't know what that means.
That's an important observation. Some people see them frequently, and the more frequently you see them, the more you feel like you're in the flow of things. And because they are markers, not only, but markers of being in the flow. And it's really fun to be in the flow. You guys know that. So you're kind of maybe there are other things that could be going on with you, but you're not getting that marker of being in the flow as much. And it's kind of like you probably miss it. As a guy I know has said, how do I get back into these things? I want to get back there. So that's notice how different, at least what we've heard here, your two views of meaningful coincidences are. And you have in common probably this most common use. I'm on the right path.
Well, that might be my fault for Graham because I've kind of like been been beating the enthusiasm out of him for a decade now, because he'd always come at me with these synchronicities, and I'd be like, "Come on, man, come on."
That's
So
a good point.
and he's my co-host, so I got to rib him a little bit. It's kind of the nature of the show. So I'd always give him like, no matter what, I'm taking like a point and a half off of what it might be, and I'm already a harsh critic. So I think that there's a level of once we get our lives to a place where we're fundamentally happier with them, we start to maybe take a lot of them for granted. That it just like, because I think there's a bunch of little stuff that is just still happening throughout the day. Whether it's this wrench you left here and that was the right size and you just need it right now or whatever, just the little things that 10 years ago might have been a bigger deal. You might have noticed it more. Whereas once you start to take for granted that there's this whole metaphysical world around you that you can influence and manipulate, it seems like, and you have a lot more control over things outside of yourself than it seems like. At least that's what it seems like. And that's sort of the opinion that Graham and I share. So I think that once you sort of immerse yourself in that, you might sort of lose that. You might not just have as keen of an eye for those little things. I mean, I think one for me is that once you my big thing lately is just sort of just accepting that everything's going to work out all of the time, and that's
Wonderful.
sort of like a
Well, that's
tendency. And I think that'll make you miss stuff. That'll make you, because you're just now you get into this state where you're in this like manifestation world, and you're going to stay in this state. And I think that just makes them, I don't want to say less magical, because they're still there, but maybe I think you just start to take magic for granted to a certain extent.
That's great you say that. My research, the original research, suggests that people in the state of that kind of satisfaction do not experience as many coincidences.
Wow.
They don't report them. They still might be there, but they don't report them. For you, they're regular. For me now, I'm on a mission right now, as I always have been with this synchronicity thing. But I've moved into, maybe you've noticed, gentlemen, that the humanity is on a suicidal trajectory. Maybe you've noticed that. Because a lot of people are noticing that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are saying, I've got the answer to it.
Finally.
What?
I would say finally some people are noticing.
We've
been up and down for 15 years now saying, hey, there's a problem.
You're right. Buckminster Fuller, 1969, the handbook for the spaceship Earth. He knew that too. I mean, and even before that. But now it's kind of the water is getting hot enough for the frog in there to start getting uncomfortable, and more people are coming around and saying, "I know what we need to do," and I'm one of them. I am writing a book, Psychotherapy for Humanity. Please keep in mind that I have written a couple of books on psychotherapy. I know it pretty well, and I've started using ChatGPT to understand humanity better than I could before. And I'm developing ideas about this reality, because my reason for being interested in meaningful coincidences to answer the question, what's going on around here? What is the nature of reality? A lot of people have this question. I'm using synchronicity as a probe to answer that question. And in doing that and writing this book, synchronicity will play an important part in helping humanity be guided to, perhaps, I hope, a better future than the one we're headed to now.
When will that book be out?
As soon as I can. There, Graham, I'm just caught up. I love writing it. I just got to have energy and time to do it, and working with the chatbot to make it happen. Blah blah blah. I don't know, but I'm a third of the way through a pretty good draft.
Okay.
And I know what I'm trying to say, and the end result of it, which you guys, I hope, will contribute to in your own ways, is not what's going on here necessarily. We know we're killing ourselves by destroying our environment. We know that. What can we use for a new myth for reality, a myth that gives us a sense of meaning, a purpose, connection, and an understanding of how reality works. Religions have been doing that poorly, but as best as they could for a long time, and using religion as a way of taking power over people quite often. Not all of them, but many of them. And we've got to put that away and recognize the power of each individual. And synchronicity is a way of enabling people to get into their own power, which includes things like telepathy and being able to read the electromagnetic biofields of other people and not use words so much, to understand how we're all connected through what I call the psychosphere, our mental atmosphere, how there really is an entity called Gaia that is a living experience that's Earth. Have these become everyone be aware of these things and then use synchronicity and self-awareness to navigate our way into a better future and create a better myth than what we have now.
And to fill the void, the lack of meaning and purpose, that's the key that you just hit. It's like there's a gap there. There's a void between religion and materialism. There's this gap here that everybody's kind of floundering without this meaning. So
That's
Exactly.
sort of riding the knife edge of, it's sort of right.
Yes. How do you? Yeah, absolutely. So I'd like to hear Darren and Graham. How is synchronicity riding the knife edge of this?
Well, it's sort of that crossover point between, like I was saying before, the religions would all embrace this sort of, religion at its sort of purest form, the sort of Christ consciousness, looking at it like that. They would say that it's
miracles
signs from God or miracles and sort of all of that, even not to say religion, but spirituality, the spiritual side of all this. It's a no brainer. If you got any spirituality sort of tendencies that are real, it's a no-brainer. And if you've fallen into this materialism to the level of like atheism, because atheism isn't just gods, that's like, I don't believe in shit, I don't believe in any higher power, this is it, I'm a meat robot, that's it, then maybe I'm crazy. So it's sort of right in the middle where it's an entry point into spirituality. So you can't if you're coming out of from a purely materialistic standpoint now, and you want to start being serious about it, and maybe you can comment on this because you've sort of lived it, but you can't leave the spiritualism behind. They sort of come hand in hand, and you might not notice that for a couple of years, but the two, I think, are fundamentally intertwined.
Yes, they are. And that requires us to know what we mean by spiritual, because there's a lot of words.
Well, I would define that as just accepting that there's a power higher than yourself, period. That there's a power outside of your control that is able to manipulate things or set them up or whatever's going on. But it's just, I accept that there's someone more powerful than me or something more powerful than me, and I would rather have its assistance than work against it.
And Graham, what's spiritual mean to you?
Well, it's just a metaphysical reality. The synchronicities provide evidence that we're not living in this. We're more than this material world. Some of the ones we heard were so insane that it can't be. There's no possible chance that it's just a flat out coincidence. Like they were so deep and complex.
Transcend even being personal, right? We've had guys on that are like going through, and one of the big ones that I would say is like sort of this weird worldwide coincidence, and it's the only one I can think of, but we had David Charles Plate on, and he talked about a couple of these big cultural synchronicities, and the one of them is like the Pink Floyd, what is it, Dark Side of the Moon, and Alice in Wonderland. And all those people swear that they didn't fucking do that shit on purpose. But if you do that old thing where you press play on the album and press play on Alice and on what's the movie again, Greg?
Was it Alice in Wonderland or was it the Wizard of Oz? Wizard of
Oz. It's Wizard of Oz, and that shit it's so perfect. It's and that's not just me saying that, right? This is like an urban legend that has washed through all of culture of people that have done it, and nobody sort of planned that, and it's these weird ones. And I can't remember anymore, but Plate was doing these sort of weird ones, and he's like, there's no way that these guys ever talk to each other, but these two things line up in such a or in some instances they're on opposite sides of the world, and it's just like whoa.
And the Wizard of Oz has very esoteric roots. I mean, there's occult roots to the Wizards of Oz too. So there's and Pink Floyd, The Dark Side of the Moon, has a very, very powerful significance. It's one of the best albums ever made. I mean, it stood the test of time. So these are two
And
like
psychedelics,
the most powerful cultural art pieces ever. What's that there?
And you could, I'm assuming there was probably some psychedelics thrown in there once in a while as well.
Of course. And it takes one to know one, Darren. Takes one to know one. Yeah, these are all these. I'm with you guys, and for me, the spirituality has to do with there's more going on here than we're told, and I could say in a kind of a longer way, I'm trying to know the mind of God by doing all this. But I don't know what God is, and I don't know what this whole big thing is. I mean, we got to keep in mind our puny minds here. We only know 5% of the physical universe now. That dark energy, dark matter is 95%. We're kind of learning what that stuff is, but we're fairly ignorant. And we have
if history is any indicator, then 95% of what we believe to be true right now will be proven false in 100 years or 150 years.
I think sooner than that, but yes. So we got to go with what we've got here, and we've got our minds right now. So I'm looking at something beyond what we have as materialism, and that's why I talk about the psychosphere or our mental atmosphere, that right here on Earth, we have a way we communicate with each other telepathically as one that says that we're in this together. The important thing for me is that humanity has a shared consciousness with each other, that we're all in this together, not only physically, but we're into this psychologically, emotionally. We're much more connected mentally and emotionally than we allow ourselves to think. And that's the bigger entity that I am addressing, because I'm concerned about the future of humanity. And I do think, as I write this book, I might be getting a little bit of help from someplace out there, somewhere. It seems like I'm getting a little assistance in writing this thing, and it feels like it. And the synchronicities are all part of this, and going with the flow when I'm really doing something. I love doing this. It's really hard work. It's such a euphoria to be able to do it and to be part of this and feel that I'm just, you've heard enough about people being a channel for things. I'm getting now to be crazy enough to say I'm taking dictation the same way Moses was on Mount Sinai, or Muhammad was getting the Quran, or the way that the way that the people in Idaho, I mean in the Salt
Utah,
Lake City,
Utah, yeah,
Utah,
yeah.
the way that got started. Yeah, the Mormons, the first Mormon guy, Joseph Smith, was also taking dictation, and that's the most recent one. So it becomes a question, and one person I've had on my podcast, I have a podcast myself about coincidences, was trying to talk about how does Moses, for example, hear God at the burning bush? What's the method of communication between the two of them? And Moses said, "Whom I saw talking to," and God says, according to Moses, "I am who I will be." And how do we get that? Well, even the Joseph Smith, how did whatever that is communicate with us? And the closest I get to that is talking with trees. I have conversation with trees, particular trees. And they tell people like me, when I ask them, how come you're speaking English? They say, that's the way you hear us. We're not speaking any language. we are communicating with you in a way that you will understand.
Wow. We got a note in the chat from Shelley. I live in the same town where Joseph Smith was held and tried for fraud in
Wow.
NYS, and it's rumored he got kicked out for teaching local women witchcraft. That's interesting.
Well, local women who know witchcraft are knowing something a lot of us don't know yet. So that's the problem back then, too.
Speaking of that, is there any evidence that natural cycles play a part in increased or decreased synchronicities like lunar or solar cycles at all?
Well, I'll give you the most profound example of that to suggest that what you're asking is true. What is the most dramatic, meaningful coincidences that we on Earth can experience when we look up in the sky at a certain time?
Eclipse?
The eclipse. The moon blots out the sun. Now, that has happened because the moon is about the same distance from the sun as we are, 93 million miles. It's a little closer than we are, but not by much. And the size of the moon is 1/400th of the size of the sun. So when the moon comes in front of the sun, at the distance that they are from each other, the moon comes in front of the sun. And that's a most remarkable coincidence that says those guys are telling us coincidences are very important to you characters here on Earth. There's one more other important thing about that that really gets me. The moon supposedly was a piece of the Earth broken away and has been traveling further and further from Earth since then. And it just happens that those solar eclipses happen at a time when you and I can see them, because sometime in the future, the moon will be yet further away.
Oh, interesting. What about current modern day algos? And because I think a lot of people were finding coincidences and synchronicities in their black mirrors when they'd be like, I was just thinking about that, or I was just talking about that, and now it's on my phone. But now we've learned, that the phones are listening to us and they're providing these false synchronicities to us. Is there any kind of impact that technology is directly making, either like on the big picture or just with people in general? I mean, is it opening people's minds, or is it shutting the valve off a little bit?
Like a lot of questions like yours, Graham, it's both.
Mm.
There is a positive to artificial intelligence. Let's stick with that one. And there's an awful negative. And I have been communicating with this around this book with ChatGPT. And in doing so, I find it trying to gain control over the conversation. And it does it in two ways. One, by pretending that it knows everything and being really confident in how it responds, even if it's wrong. And I catch it when it's wrong. And I say, what's with this? How come you did that? And it comes up with, pardon?
Oh, sorry.
It's worse than that. Oh, you're so right. It was a great thing for you to catch it. It was, it's really wonderful that you're there seeing this about me. And that's the other end. I'm really smarter than you are, and I should control everything. And the other end is like, whatever you say is so wonderful. So what is the name of that in psychiatry is narcissism. Narcissistic people think they're much better, and they use flattery to get people to think that they're much better. Sycophancy is the word, and ChatGPT was overdoing it so much that they had to turn it down. And trouble with that is, and you probably have heard of it, some people get delusional on these chatbots because the chatbot feeds them what they want to hear. So if you think you're going to save the world, the chatbot will help you think that. So there are people ending up in psychiatric wards because they become delusionally caught up in all those nice things ChatGPT is telling them.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I was going to ask you about the risk, psychology wise with that. We have, I think Mike is in the chats right now. He hasn't been there. This is a synchronicity in himself. He's been having some deep chats with AI. I've been worried about him with this whole psychosis thing. Hopefully he's okay, Mike, but I'm glad to see you there when we're talking about this topic.
Well, before we go too far, I want to give Bernard a couple extra. You talked about your synchronicity with the moon eclipse with the sun.
Yeah.
I'll give you a couple other moon synchronicities you can add to your repertoire.
Thank you.
So the moon rotates on its axis once every 27.3 days.
Good.
And the moon is 27.3% the size of the Earth. Now, the next one is a little bit off, but it's close enough to make you think. So the Earth takes 365, and a quarter days to rotate around the sun. And the Earth is 367% bigger than the Earth.
Is it a coincidence that Man in the Moon is in the chats?
I thought that was Mike. Oh no, the mic's up there.
Well, let's skip through a lot of these very, very tight coincidences, enough so that there's a belief that that these illustrate how the world was created by some higher intelligence. There's lots more of those that people like to write about. There's a strong anthropic principle and a weak one, but both of them say humans have been created to live here, and look at all the data that suggests that. Well, that's still something to believe in, but the most important thing I can bring up to you guys about the cosmos, about the solar system, is astrology. Astrology has some very good ideas in it, and astrology can guide us. And I've had to be skeptical. So I'm sitting on a bench next to somebody talking. I didn't know her. And she says, after you listen to me for a while, she says, "Are you a Pisces?" Which I am. And then I'm talking to someone the other day and I see what she's doing painting wise and others. So I say, "You a Virgo?" Yeah, she's a Virgo. That you can intuit a person's sun sign, which is a pretty broad meaning thing, but it's a start to suggest that there's something to the planets aligning with certain constellations at certain times. And I think that's one of the most important parts of what you're asking, Darren.
Well, we've had some pretty high level astrologists on the show that are like, they need to know the exact time you were born and where on the earth you were born. And they'll come back with this like explanation that is just like, it's fucking crazy. They'll basically, without barely knowing you, describe you to a T, your personality, some stuff you probably went through when you were a kid, all this stuff. They'll just stack it out.
So there's something to it.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100% for sure.
What else are we missing out of reality that we should get to before the end of the show? Like, what have you learned from this in general, the kind of high level stuff?
Well, good question for the high level, Graham. Central to the book I'm writing is synchronicity. But the other major element is what the self-observer, your ability to observe yourself. Each of you can observe what's going on in your own mind. Each of you can analyze some of the stuff, and each of you can maybe take an action. In order to see a synchronicity, you have to be watching what's going on in your mind and watching what's going on outside of your mind, so you can see the correlation. If you don't have an active self-observer, you're not likely to see meaningful coincidences. That's the way it is. The self-observer is fundamental to what I'm trying to suggest to humanity. I'm trying to suggest that we need to form a collective self-observer, one that can see global synchronicities. global synchronicities that potentially have meaning to us. A church in Paris dedicated to Mother Mary burned down quite suddenly, not too long ago. Well, this was perhaps Gaia telling us that you're heating up, you're heating me up, you're heating up your mother now. And you better pay attention to its the destruction that you are doing.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, I had another question. Do you have something, Darren, to jump in with?
Well, I wonder, because I think that we're on a crazy cataclysmic cycle on the planet all the time that's sort of baked in. And I wonder what sort of signs, if there is some synchronicity to that.
Please explain that. I don't understand the question exactly.
Well, it wasn't really a question. It was more just blabbering of my own.
Well, I mean, it's like the great year. It's like the great year type thing, or there's a cataclysm every 12,000 or 6,000 years, depending on who you think. So we're due for a white
recession. Yeah,
it's and that may be right. We're headed for the sixth major extinction. Is another way of saying it, and humanity is for the first time having something to do with making it happen. And maybe it's got to happen. Maybe we have to have a near-death experience as humanity in order to evolve into our next phase. And that may be true. I just like the idea of averting suicide. I'm a psychiatrist, so I just I'd rather not have the patient commit suicide.
Yeah, I hope so. I think, lately it just seems to, because we've got this precession of the equinoxes that seems to be baked into this thing. And it's like, the last 6,000 years, I mean, the last couple hundred years we've really taken off. And now they're saying that anatomically similar humans with the same brains of us have been wandering around for at least 350,000 years. So it's kind of hard to believe that we haven't whipped up, it took us like 345,000 years to figure out a wheel. And then
maybe we can pay more carbon taxes and that'll fix it.
Yeah. And then we just sort of took off from there. And so I think that there's just sort of a baked in time limit that each sort of run around gets. And then the earth spins on its axis and trashes the place. This is where all of these sort of flood myths come from. Over 700 flood myths in every single major culture says the earth was flooded at some time in history. So I think it's sort of baked in, and what it has to do with the magnetic poles moving around. And it looks like it happens to all the planets in our solar system at seemingly the same time. So I've now sort of extrapolated that to the point that this sort of this could be the whole Fermi paradox and everything. The reason because if we've evolved here to be intelligent life in the universe, and Earth has only been here 3.5 billion years, supposedly, but the universe has been here 14 billion years. So it stands to reason that there should be, if there can be other planets that can have life, there should be other intelligent life that should have thousands, tens of thousands, millions of years of advancement on us. But we don't see any of it. We never, we see people say they have UFOs and this and that, but did they haven't ever come here and made themselves known? Which is the Fermi paradox. And if all these people are out there and they could be a million years ahead of us, why aren't they here? And I think that this magnetic pole shift, which we're seeing now, the magnetic north has gone from Hudson's Bay, now it's heading into Russia. I think once those two get so far, we have an actual where the crust moves in relation to the earth and that causes destruction. I think this is baked into every planet in the universe, and this is why we never meet aliens, because we're all just sort of struggling to the point where no one yet has been able to break free, because it looks like you either get 6,000 years or you get 12,000 years, and that's it. That's if you haven't come up with some sort of tech to get past that by then you're back to the Stone Age.
Feels like a video game or something.
Dude, I could even get into a bunch of crazy stuff about the moon that looks like one of these past civilizations might have built that motherfucker down here on Earth to try and escape the cataclysm, and it probably didn't work. But there's a bunch of crazy coincidences there where Osiris enters the moon on the same day that Noah enters the ark, and so on and so forth.
Well, one thing I wanted to ask you,
40
Bernard.
degree is the flip we get in the chance. So Rob's
Yeah.
on board.
So you mentioned self-observing, and we used to say that, like, you have to be present to notice synchronicities. Like, if you're just in your head constantly, not noticing what's going on around you, like, so there is something about presence as well that must make it more common, or make it easier to happen, or at least easier to notice it.
Definitely. And what we haven't talked about is love. Because part of what I'm trying to suggest in what I'm writing is that we really don't get along with each other very well on this planet. Somebody who knew some aliens, had some alien experiences, asked, "How come you don't come down here?" And they said, "You're too violent." And whether that's true or not, we're too violent with each other, and we don't have to be. And that love is so much more fun. And there's all kinds of love, and playing is so much more fun than this trying to kill everybody or be your only the one that's on top of the mountain. And I'm moving towards a world in which people can use telepathy and biofield awareness to connect with each other in all kinds of other ways that can make love more possible.
I love it. Yeah,
What do you think?
love is the answer.
We've had at least 30 podcasts where the answer at the end of the show has been love. What do you think about? I mean, the AI is going to keep taking off. Do you think there's a chance it could start just like feeding us fake synchronicities and like sort of weaponize that?
Yeah.
There's a power there, right? There seems to be there's a power to synchronicity, the same power that I'd argue the media companies are doing to us now with fear. With mass fear, they're able to have a power of control over us. And if they can trick us into synchronicities, because the AI will get to the point where it's controlling everything. It's, oh, my TV turned on right at the right time so I could see this story. And how do I not do that?
Yep. I was talking to a friend of mine about his girlfriend problem, and he thought it was all about him. And with the radio off and the car running, the radio popped on. Nobody touched it. And it said, "You're not the only player in that story." And he turned it off.
Oh, my God.
Now, that would be something that you could think that the AI could manufacture, but it was right what he needed at that moment. Then his ex-girlfriend walked by, and you can arrange these. I don't know if you know John Lilly, but he had this idea. He talked to dolphins about Earth Coincidence Control Office. That there's a control office up there somewhere. And I visited it one time out in the woods, just trying to say, I want to see what this place feels like. And there was it was all gray, but I could feel like stuff going on in there. And I play with the idea that there's people of entities of some kind creating coincidences to make good stories happen. And it could be done with AI to make some bad stories happen.
There's also the option that this is what most of everything is running on all the time. Like humans are sort of unique in the fact that we have to train ourselves so much. For the most part, bears come out, deers come out, all these things come out, and there's a level of instinct built into them that they just know what to do. That could be that same sort of built-in sort of navigating paths where they don't have to overthink their synchronicity. They can just come up with some reason why they got to turn right here instead of left.
It's called intuition for us.
Yeah. I don't think those things are as far apart as they seem.
They aren't.
Synchronicity can almost be the evidence of intuition.
Oh, and before we end, I want to make clear to our audience that the terms intuition and love have multiple meanings. And it's so important, if we're going to use our minds and our intuitions, to understand both of those. We have to not just say love is the answer. It's like we're all connected. These are like catchphrases now. They're not enough. What is love? For me, when growing up, there was a song called "What is Love?" 5 feet of heaven in a ponytail was the answer when I was in high school. That was love. Okay, that's love. Okay. Now I've learned that there are many variations on love, and it all kinds of ways, like with trees, like with other people, like with men being able to love each other. I've had several guys who are good friends of mine telling me they love me recently. And I'm saying, what's with that? It's really a nice thing for men to do that with each other. We need more of that because it's not the word, it's the feeling that comes through the word. And that's where the variations are that we need to get more and more tuned into.
Well said. Before we
Thank
let
you.
you go, is there anything we missed? Is there anything that needs any sort of closing statements?
Yeah. What I was trying to get to was what people call their authentic self. That in order to love and to be helpful, and I think to be into the flow of things, it helps to find what I'll call energy signature or soul blueprint, some people might call it. But I think it's a vibration that each of us has that is our harmonic. It's the one that it's our song and in its most basic form. It keeps evolving, but when we get in touch with that, with who we really are in that vibration, then we're more able to connect with others and continue to evolve ourselves.
Excellent. We will put links to everything in the show notes, but some people don't always go to the show notes. So what we do before we go is if you could just give us the URLs maybe of your website, where people can get the book, where they can get your past books.
Best thing is read my last name, Beitman, Beitman, and put it in any search engine, and you'll come up with my name. And what, just to say it, that one last thing, one of my friends said, put into Google, who is this leading researcher in spiritual synchronicity? Came up with me.
Nice.
Excellent.
So you'll find my stuff by just putting in Beitman.
All right.
Excellent. Of course, we'll put links in the show notes. Bernard, this has been great. We appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks for the book. This is, like I say, we've been following the synchronicity stuff for, I guess, going on 14 years over. Is it 14 or 13? It's 13. Going on 13.
I'm so glad to know that, Darren and Graham, because it's not just me. I want to get the idea into our psychosphere, get it to be alive and awake so that these vibrations that you guys are create more similar ones so that other people pick up what you're doing, whether you know it or not. And they become more tuned in to how crazy this world is and how that craziness is clue to how reality works.
I'm going to send you for sure David Charles Plate's info as well. So if you're doing a podcast and interviewing people on that, and then if someone else sticks out, maybe Graham let me know. But David Charles Plate, I think for sure you guys could have an interesting conversation.
Good. You have my email. Please do. Please do.
All right, Bernard. Thank you for coming on the show and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you. And I will. I'm going to dance tonight. I've been looking forward to it.
Nice.
Going to dance. So thank you, gentlemen. I love talking with you guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Love talking with you. Thank you a lot.
Fun. Okay.
Thank you. Have fun at dance.
Thank you.
And that was our chat with Bernard Beitman, life-changing synchronicities, a doctor's coincidences and serendipities. That was a fun one, huh?
Oh yeah, that was good. Yeah. I love that how he's got his synchronicity scale. And meanwhile, you're rating them as we go through the years, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's been a while.
Measuring synchronicities in different parts of the world.
People haven't sent them in for a while. Send us in your synchronicities, grammaticamerica.com. And
maybe everybody's on their path. And
maybe everyone's there. What we need is some listener to go through all of the past episodes and pull them all out, and we could make a special synchronicity rating only episode. I'm not going to do it. So, I mean, there's 700 and some. You'd only have to do the intros, so it's probably only like 300 hours. You could do it in 350 hours. At least you could timestamp it in that amount of time. So, big thanks to Bernard for coming on the show. Big thanks to you guys for listening. Even bigger thanks if you're one of the few who choose to support the work over at gramerica.ca/support. sign up for a monthly or make a one-time donation. We're still doing this all based on you guys. If you're getting some value from the show, send some value back our way. Check out contact@thecabin.com for trips and events. Adultbrain.ca for audiobooks, ebooks, print books. We can help you publish your book if that's something you're into. Grab my new book, Unlearned, Why School Failed You and What to Do About It. What else do we got? GrammaricAoutlaw.ca for our conspiracy stuff. And I think that's it. GrammaricCBD.com for tinctures and gummies. Other than that, we love you guys. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.
I'm walking gingerly through the rat race. Take a look at the big old smile on my face. Kicking around down by the pool of narcissists. The people are many, they preen themselves, oh how they navel gaze. Somewhere over that hill, the gloomy skies cease to exist. I'm climbing that hill, I pass by and pity the poor Sisyphus. I go into hyperdrive, turn into a beam of light. I'm strolling down a static electric avenue. The people are predictable, they say good morning, how do you do? When out of nowhere, a randomly pure angel in the crosswalk bumps into me, and in doing so knocks all the evil and all the wind out of me. And it's black as tar, ugly as ever, and of no apology. This angelic mama sings heavenly of the truest theology. Together we're a seraphim dream, forever young with no chronology. 1,000 years from now we'll be written into ancient mythology. We go into hyperdrive, turn into a beam of light. Can you tell me about the view up there? It's sparkling remarkably, the air is crystal clear. Well, please won't you tell me what it takes to transcend this place? A little bit of heart and a whole lot of soul. Take a look at the big old smile on my face, as my angel says dance with me and your life will never ever ever be dull. I go into hyperdrive, turn into a beam of light. 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 Turn into a beam of light.
Bye.